Welcome to the Let's Manifest podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alyssa Esposito, a certified life coach and manifestation expert dedicated to helping you design and live a life that you absolutely love. Together, we're diving into the magic of the law of attraction, quantum physics, and powerful personal development techniques. Whether you're new to manifestation or seeking inspiration, this podcast offers clarity, motivation, and actionable insights. So are you ready? Let's make it happen. Today's episode is a juicy one because we're diving into a universal law that doesn't get talked about enough. It's called the law of rhythm. You may have also heard of it called the law of opposites, and it's one of the most powerful forces shaping our lives, our energy, and even our manifestations. I chose this topic for the podcast episode because I had a week with a lot of up and downs. I had some amazing things that I was just elated about. But I also had some heartbreakingly difficult things come up in life. The law of rhythm says that everything in the universe moves in cycles, patterns, and natural rhythms. Just like the ocean tides rise and fall, so do our emotions, the season, energy levels, relationships, finances, and yes, even our own manifestation process. This law teaches us that life flows in waves. And there's a time for expansion and a time for contraction, a time for action and time for rest, a time for clarity and a time for confusion. The law of rhythm is not here to punish us. It's here to balance us. It's here to remind us that nothing stays the same forever. That even when we feel stuck or low, it's just a part of the natural rhythm of life moving us towards our next expansion. Think of that ocean wave and how if you ride that wave on a surfboard, it's going to push you all the way in back to shore. Now here's where it gets interesting. The law of rhythm is deeply connected to what many call the law of opposites. This principle says that we cannot experience one state without the contrast of another. You can't fully appreciate light unless you've walked through the dark. You wouldn't know success without failure. You wouldn't feel joy as deeply if you hadn't felt sadness. These are the opposite. They're not enemies. One's not good or bad. They're here to teach us. The universe uses polarity to create clarity and growth and momentum. In manifestation, this is everything because when you hit a rough patch, when things slow down, fall apart, feel uncertain, feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that your manifestation isn't coming. Often it means it's away. The contraction makes space for the expansion. The breakdown often comes before the breakthrough. Now that you understand these two universal laws, let me share with you some examples of how they've played out in my life. I want to take you back to a pivotal moment in my life, to December 6th, 2016. I was a practicing optometrist. I was society president. I was an assistant professor for the university in which I got my doctoral degree, and that night I had just won Young Optometrist of the Year award. I remember coming home, getting undressed, and I did a self-breast exam without even thinking of it. And I found a lump in my left breast. I didn't really think it was going to be cancer, but long story short, it was. And I remember having all these different emotions, but I remember thinking, why? I had chosen gratitude as my word of the year for 2017, that next year that was coming up. And I thought, am I not grateful enough for my life? Is that why I have to go through this circumstance, this journey? And I gave myself a certain amount of time to go through all the different emotions. Because when you get a diagnosis like that, there's lots of them. There's confusion, there's anger, there's grief. There's just being scared because you don't always know what's lying ahead of you on your path. It's not always clear. I mentored 80 women on a process called cold capping, which teaches them how to save their hair. I wore a gel helmet on my head, and it was at minus 28 degrees. My amazing husband changed that helmet out every 20 minutes, and we capped sometimes for 10 hours. I became very close to some of these women, one in which is very particularly generous and has helped me learn to be a better receiver. This experience brought my husband and I closer. It showed me who in my life really cared about me because I always felt like I was the one who kept in touch with everybody, checking on everybody. I was the one that always reached out, but people were there for me when I needed it. It taught me the value of time, and that was such a precious gift. It made it really easy for me to say no to things. It's part of why I made a decision criteria. I just asked myself, does X activity bring me closer to my goals, or is it something that lights me up? So the cancer experience, while you think about it being something that's absolutely horrible and life devastating, and it can be for some people, and I know some people who are still victims to this, even though it's happened to them years ago and they've been cancer-free for years. But for me, it really was an amazing experience. And why? It's because I chose to let it be that way. Last week was one of those weeks in my life where I saw the law of rhythm play out again. I turned 45. So obviously I'm doing well, I'm cancer-free. And after that breast cancer battle, which I did treatment for years, I don't complain about birthdays or getting old anymore. I manifested a beautiful Art Deco ring that I'm wearing right now, and it's just gorgeous. And I welcomed my first few students into the Modern Manifestation Academy, which I was absolutely elated. It flowed money to me. I reinvested some of that money to extending time to work with my coach. So yes, I had an amazing birthday. So those were some of the high points in my week. But I also had some low points. I don't have children, but I am a very proud dog mom. And so one of the lows this week was yesterday I had to let my dog go. My 13-year-old one who's been with me for about 12 years. And it hurt because I loved him so much. If you don't know the sadness, you're not going to know the happiness and the love. Remember the law of opposites, right? I had someone say to me that he would never have another dog because he didn't want to put another one down. I felt really sorry for that guy because I knew he could not see it from the other side. And that the reason it hurt him so much is because he loved his dog so much. As pet owners, we get all that love up front, unconditionally. Because they never lived long enough, we're left with that deep emotional experience at the end. But we have to remember that everything is a circumstance. It's a neutral circumstance. We can look at it as an exchange for all the love and the memories that they've brought to our lives. We can look at it as giving them one last gift of peace, or we can look at it as something completely different. I've had lots of messages from friends and family sending me their love. A call from his vet who was told by the mobile lapse of love veterinarian that Dusty had passed away. I asked him to gift the remaining laser sessions that we had prepaid to another pup and family in need in Dusty's name. I'm choosing to flow that love and generosity to someone else who needs it. And isn't that a beautiful thing that came from this downwave? So when life seems not to be going your way, just remember to ride the wave, not to be in resistance. Resistance causes you more pain, is likely to keep you stuck, and to keep you in those lower vibrational emotions. You just don't know what's on the other side, what life lessons you're going to learn, how much stronger you're going to become by riding that wave down and back up. I want you to have trust, hold in your vision. Know that this is part of the universal law of rhythm and opposites, and that your manifestation is coming. So remember how we talked about faith. Sometimes in those challenging moments, it's hard to keep the faith. And I'm not saying this is a test from the universe. I don't think that thought serves me, and I don't think it serves you. You just have to relax, do what you can, be in the flow, have faith, and be open with your energy. Let the emotions process through you and ride that wave back up and out. So how do you work with the law of rhythm and not against it, you might be asking? How do we use this in our daily life? Well, here's a few practical ways. Again, stop resisting the low seasons. When you're in a down moment, whether it's low energy, low income, low motivation, don't panic. Don't label it as failure. Instead, honor it, reflect, rest, recalibrate. Find what you can learn from that moment. The tide is always going to rise again. Prepare in the highs. When you're in the high energy, high clarity, high vibration phase, lean into it. Take all the aligned actions. Launch the thing, share your truth, plant the seeds that you'll harvest later. But know this phase will pass too, and that's okay. It's not a regression, it's a rhythm. Use contrast as a compass. When you're experiencing something you don't want, it actually sharpens your awareness of what you do want. that contrast becomes a tool for manifestation clarity. So instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, what is this showing me about what I truly desire? When it comes to manifestation mastery, here's something powerful. Most people give up on their dream, not because they're impossible, but when they hit a low point, they assume that it's a sign to quit. I know I felt guilty of this. I've written many courses. I've launched things sometimes to crickets. But if I never tried again, this podcast would not be out there. I wouldn't have students in my Manifestation Academy. When you understand the law of rhythm, then you know that these dips are not the end. They're not a sign to quit. They're just part of the process. And you stop fearing the down cycles and start riding them like waves. In my signature method, the aligned method for manifestation, this is a huge component that I teach my students how to align with their goals mentally, emotionally, energetically, and it's the personal development work that we do that strengthens them so that they can ride those waves and persist through to see their manifestation come to reality. True manifestation work doesn't always feel good. It means that you know how to stay grounded and aligned even when it doesn't. Let's close this episode with a few journal prompts to help you work with this law in your own life. Where am I currently experiencing a low tide? What lesson or redirection could this rhythm be revealing to me? How can I better honor my own natural cycles of energy, clarity, or creativity? What would it look like to trust the rhythm instead of resist it? The law of rhythm is a reminder that nothing is permanent, not the good, not the bad. And when you learn to ride the wave instead of fighting them, life starts to feel more aligned, more empowered, and way more magical. Thank you for being here, for tuning in, for going into this deep soul-led work with me. We hope that you've liked this episode. If so, check out the Make It Happen project, where you can learn more about the Modern Manifestation Academy. You can also find a community of like-minded people and coaching resources to help you create and live your dream life. And for fun manifestation swag, check out the manifestationshop.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Let's Manifest podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Let's keep the momentum going because you deserve to manifest your biggest dreams. Until next time, remember, you've got the power to make it happen.